Hello, beautiful Love Goddess. Welcome to a recording of another Love Goddess podcast. And this week, we are talking about irresistible lifestyle and we are continuing that conversation. However, this week we are specifically focusing on sexuality and sexual lifestyles, our normal and accepted lifestyles and alternative lifestyles as well. And Love Goddess Podcast is your place to tap into your sexuality, tap into your femininity, tap into your dark feminine energy. Love Goddess Podcast is where you get inspired to live your feminine life. Love Goddess Podcast is your place to step into your power and embrace your authenticity, because when you are authentic to who you are operating from a place of personal values and you are so set within yourself and you don't apologize for anything that you decide to do because you are operating based on your own truth, based on your own authenticity, and you don't need to people please, right? That is what Love Goddess Podcast is about. And I also want to remind you that you don't need to settle anymore. You don't need to keep choosing average life that you have been living. You don't need to settle for not the greatest sexual life, not the greatest work life, not the greatest social life. You can have it all, and you can have it all now. And it starts with you embracing your inner love goddess within yourself. I invite you to come to my 12-month program called Lovegodesss Academy, where I have developed a very special love goddess method, and I walk you step by step on what it is that we are doing together to achieve your fullness, your full alignment with who you are, the new version of you, the more powerful version of you, the more confident version of you, the version of you that people look at and admire. That's the kind of version that we are looking for to create with you in the Lovegodesss Academy. So don't delay. Go to katyamelvin.com/academy to learn how you can start your journey now. Lifestyle, sexual lifestyle. So what do I mean by irresistible sexual lifestyle? For some, and that's why I took this as a separate weekly topic, because for some, it is finding ways to spice things up with her husband. If she's been in a relationship for a very long time and she just ran out of ideas and they have gotten into some kind of rut, or there is lack of sex altogether, that is when a couple starts looking for solutions if they are still wanting to make this work, and if they're still desiring to create a irresistible lifestyle together, right? There are also alternative lifestyle couples who are into certain things that majority of population are not going to be in. Those include swingers, those include BDSM power dynamics, they would include poly lifestyle. All of these lifestyles I want to touch base on, but I want to clarify, when I say irresistible lifestyle, you decide for yourself what that's like in your own sex life. I'm not telling you go and do this thing or this thing or this thing. You gonna choose what is aligned with you, because every single person has her own set of values. She's been growing up in her own with her own set of beliefs. So whatever the lifestyle is for you, you have to follow. And you're going to you're going to make that definition. But what I'm going to do with you this week is just give you a little bit of an overview, an introduction of what it is all about, So you can make your own educated decisions. And for some, they might want to explore that further. For others, they're gonna be like, no, I'm not open to even consider this. And totally okay, totally fine. And in fact, every couple's dynamics is going to be different. It is going to be different. Let's take me, for example. I started exploring in a sense of, I'm interested. I want to know about people. Like, what are they into? Why are they doing things other people are not doing? I'm just like interesting. What else is out to life, right? Like what is it that is not mainstream? And so I started exploring and learning about other people and signed up for different conventions and went and explored different sexual lifestyles and learned that there's so many, like there's no one thing. Everyone has their own kinks. And there is no one thing that fits all, especially on a subject of sexuality, especially on a subject of you defining what works for you. And the reason why I started talking about myself is that I started opening my realm of possibilities and brain and my way of thinking about sex and sexual lifestyle. And my husband is just not open to do it. He's not into it. He doesn't want to know about that stuff, and that's totally okay. And he gives me my freedom to explore. Like, I'm not restricted in any way. We are fully we are communicating about what's going on, but he just doesn't want to be part of anything that, like, if I want to go to a BDSM party, he doesn't want to be part of that because he's not into that kind of stuff, right? And that's totally okay. And maybe he'll grow into it later on in life, and maybe he won't, and I'm gonna accept him for who he is, right? And I am blessed that he is accepting me for who I am, and the unsettled spirit that I have with all of my adventures and all of my explorations, and wanting to like really live life, really explore different sides to life. Really, I have this nudge within me to like explore lives from different people's perspective. Like, I want to travel to those remote tribes and like spend a week in a tribe because I want to live like that person, to like experience life how they experience life. I want to learn what is it like to live life as a certain person, like, or a certain profession or a certain lifestyle. And to me, that's the fun of life, because I get, and that's what that's why I am an identity coach, and I am able to shift quickly. I'm not stuck in one identity because I am the explorer. I want to experience life as it comes to me. I want to experience life how some other people experience life. And to me, that is a shift of identity, and that is a shift of perception, and that is how other people live life and how they explore life. And so whatever sexuality that you choose to embody and embrace right now is totally fine. And you might be still learning how to step into your very innocent sexuality. In fact, to me, and the way I've developed and the way I see other people are developing, it was stepping into my innocent sexuality, stepping into my feminine sexuality, then taking on that masculine shift, stepping into powerful role in my sexuality, then embracing more of a darker side of sexuality, embracing like pulling into like kink side of sexuality, and like just exploring and growing. And to me, that's more of a I wouldn't say evolutionary process, but it's more of a growth process. You expand. So that doesn't mean that like your light sexuality or innocent sexuality is what I call it is bad. because you are not into kink. That does not at all mean like that. You also came here to experience different types of lessons, and that's totally fine that you don't get to experience other things within sexuality. And then I hear stories from grandmas who we find out they never had an orgasm. They're married because they had to. They imagine having sex with a person and just allowing them to use your body for sex without having like pleasure. And that's what, like, that is the whole reason why we are even having this conversation with women, because it's not one-way street. That only women don't value themselves enough. Women don't value themselves enough to allow, the reason why this would ever happen is when women don't value themselves enough. They're allowing themselves to be used, and they know it, and they're allowing this to happen. They are not putting themselves first. They're not prioritizing their pleasure. They're not prioritizing orgasm. They don't even know what that is. Isn't that sad? It is so sad. It is very, very sad. So to me, growing from that light sexuality to dark sexuality, meaning light sexuality is just like the norm, the vanilla. And the reason why I'm saying this is because it's readily available. I call it light, right? Because women take the submissive form, and men take the masculine form. Women are submitting to men, and this doesn't have to be like the gender specific. This could be a power dynamic between a woman and a woman, and the light sexuality is like the standard, right? The dark sexuality is alternative sexuality. That's why it's dark. It's mysterious, right? It's not norm. It's not normal. Sometimes it's even taboo, is what considers taboo. And that's what I call dark sexuality, because once we explore what's the norm, once we get bored with the norm, once we want to learn what's out there even more and start exploring that, that's when we open up a possibility of that darkness. Like, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it's just not your standard. And again, even in kink, there are levels. There are levels to what other people want. Some people are into sadism, and some people are not into that, right? And again, it's person dependent. It's all depending. Like, sex is subjective because sex is a physical pleasure, but you get to experience pleasure in other ways. You get to experience pleasure in sensual way, and just like sensual meaning feeling, like touch is a feeling. There are different kinds of touch, like touch with a feather, touch with a knife, like two different things, right? You experience different sensations. That's why it is a sensational feeling. The sensational, it's a pleasurable sensation. So whatever your style, don't get hooked on it. Like, you don't need to go and further, like, and say like, oh, I'm not enough because I only want to do this normal vanilla is what I don't like this term, because I feel like it's discriminating like your standard beautiful art of sex, right? To me, vanilla, there's nothing bad about vanilla. It's beautiful. it's romantic. Like, I would, instead of the word vanilla, I'm gonna call it romantic sex, right? Or even also vanilla, like romantic sex, or just like a normal sex, or give me those words, because I can't think of a term. I can't think of a term what to call that. But because now that sometimes sex is not romantic between a man and a woman, and they are still within like what's considered the norm, and there's still power dynamic happening, right? And there is rough sex and there's sweet sex. So by me calling it romantic, it does not really paint the full picture. Anyway, you got what I'm saying. And Don't like blame yourself that you are not interested in that other stuff. You don't need to be. And maybe you'll grow into it and maybe you will not. Like, just honor what you have. Honor like your own, like what feels good. Honor your desires. Honor what you're being pulled to, because that is completely different realm of psychology, why we like certain things and why we don't like certain things. So, like, that has formed very early in our development as a human being. So it's hard, like, and a lot of it is also in our subconscious, and it is a beauty of it at the same time. Like, there is a lightness and darkness to it at the same time, right? I want to share with you that creating your lifestyle, including your sexual lifestyle, like, I don't teach you to like go and be have the power dynamics. That's not what I do. I'm giving you educational opinion on what's out there, and you are making those selections yourself, right? And many couples would choose to be monogamous, and many couples would play with each other in a monogamous way, and that's a beautiful thing, right? Don't bother that, like, don't make it don't worry that you don't like something that you shouldn't. Like, just like, that's what I'm teaching you. Accept yourself for who you are, and you do you. I do want to share with you that in the Lovegodesss Academy, where I'm teaching you to become the love goddess in your life, I am going deeper into what we are talking on this week in a podcast. And this dynamic is such a personal dynamic. Like, I give you opinion, I'll give you education. However, it is different from one couple to another. It works for one couple, it doesn't work for another. And the border and is so thin where you can cross into a very dangerous territory. That's why I do not, like, I need to see your situation to give you a proper advice on how you should better approach the situation. You want one thing, he wants another thing, right? And sometimes you align on this, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you work it out, and sometimes you don't, and you find the best compromise, right? So with that in mind, it is very couple specific. What works for one couple doesn't work for another, and so on. And the border, the edge is so thin that you might not even think you did something wrong, but in the eyes of the other person, you did. So you need to approach the subject very carefully, extremely cautiously, and with full consent and full understanding of another person, and being fully honest and fully clear, and communicate very, very clearly. You cannot go into any sorts of dynamic if you don't have clear communication with your significant other. If you are hiding something or not telling him something, that is a red flag. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. And with that being said, I invite you to join my Lovegodesss Academy. So if you are interested in spicing up your life, whether through spicing up your monogamous relationship, or exploring some other sides that are not so vanilla, all of that we are covering in the Lovegodesss Academy. It is an open conversation. We love those kind of juicy things here in our community. So I invite you to join my Lovegodesss Academy, a 12-month coaching journey with me in a group setting. If you want to learn more, go to Katya Melvin, www.katyamelvin.com/academy to apply. And with that, my love, I will see you tomorrow for another recording of a Lovegodesss podcast. Ciao.